Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and our Simple Abundance here. We're continuing our discussion of Sarah Ban Beathnach's book Simple Abundance. And if you've been tuning in to my last few videos, you know that I've been borrowing from Sarah's original version of Simple Abundance, a daybook of comfort and joy, and talking a lot about success and what that means in the world and that versus authentic success. Check those out if you haven't watched them already. And also, all along in the last month or so, or actually even in the summer we were talking about this, we've been talking a lot about discovering what gifts we may have and what we may have as like an inner urging that just really wants to come out. And it may be something that we're afraid to even try because we might fail. We talked a little bit about failure. And it may be something that people would think is totally ridiculous too, right? So a while back we talked about maybe keeping some things to yourself so that not only someone else wouldn't take your idea and run with it, but also because you just don't want to have the negative reaction or potential lack of support from the people in your life, right? So I'm going back to her 2019 edition of Simple Abundance that we've been going through this year. And this is my first time through the new book. And I will say that in the month of September, just like May, I felt like she really rewrote a lot of the May entries. In September, a lot of these entries are very personal and she's sharing a lot about her life. So she did that with us over the summer too, as well as some of those new entries where she was visiting the convent and she told us about her time becoming a writer abroad and things like that. So it's a good section to take a look at because you'd learn a bit more about her personally. And I'm just going to read a couple of excerpts from some of the entries that are related to what we're talking about. I really like the entry that she's got called A Psalm for Life, and she shares a part of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, one of the poets from the 19th century. She shares a part of his poem, which is, "Let us then be up and doing, with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and wait." We talked about action, we talked about patience and perseverance, and Sarah takes us through an analysis of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's words there and brings up all those points, like that there has to be some doing to achieve success, right? I wonder what level of doing you feel is necessary, because some people feel like if it's too much of an effort, then it may not be, it may be, I don't know, it may not be the right thing, right? But Sarah does feel like with the perseverance and, you know, hard work, that's her idea of succeeding. So she takes us along with that. And then with a heart for any fate, that's a lot about what we were talking about over the summer as far as letting go of the expectations of how it's all going to work out. You're doing something potentially for the pure joy of it, right? And you're not totally set on how it's going to happen. And you're giving a bit up to spirit. A lot of this is what we've talked about. And learn to labor and wait is, again, about that patience, right? And our concept of time is not the same as spirit's, she tells us. You've heard the term, I'm sure, divine timing. And sometimes it can be like, why isn't it happening yet? But if you can think about there being a greater path and that things are happening, you know, in this divine timing, it does allow you to have a bit more peace and patience about things. And she also has an entry about uncommon women. And I was thinking about this as I'm reading this entry. I think you guys are all uncommon women. Think about the common woman. She's not, you know, on a daily basis thinking about all these principles that we've been talking about all year. She's not doing self-reflection. She's probably not taking time for herself. And so the fact that we're even on this journey and that you're following along the book and watching my channel, I think we are all uncommon women. I like one thing she says in this entry too, about how well, she's actually quoting someone, Wendy Wassertein, but she's talking about possibilities and how at the beginning of each year she tries to plan out that she's going to have possibilities. So each year is you know, you have these vast possibilities, right? Instead of setting these lofty goals, it's just like, what's possible, right? And this same Wendy is also saying, every year I make a note not to feel left behind by my friends and family who have managed to change far more than I. I resolve to be a little less the me I know and leave a little room for the me I could be. This passion for authenticity will make you an uncommon woman. Yes, and we're already on our way. A couple of other things to mention. She's got a few entries that are similar to the ones that we've already talked about. Then we get into Sarah's challenge for us. Okay, we already have so many things that she's been telling us to do this year, right? We're supposed to have an hour a week for creative excursions. We're supposed to have an hour a day, and that could be a half hour in the morning and a half an hour at night if you can, although she said, remember that that's not always, you might be exhausted in both cases. And now we are going to have time to work on our passions and projects. And one specific thing that she really hits home with is that no matter how crazy your idea seems, she wants you to still go with it. She also wants you to sit down and remember back to things that you did earlier in your life. Like, she gives an example of someone that had a part-time job in high school and loved to do the window displays. And thinking about how that might translate to something now. I don't know what that might translate to. Maybe, like, the first thing that comes to my mind is like set decorating or something for theater. I don't know. You know, so sit with your memories and think about some of the things that you really got excited about. It doesn't mean that you're going to want to do all of them, because sometimes we grow up and we might be very different than we were, you know? So we talked about hobbies. She was kind of easing us into this gifts section and passion, right, with the hobbies. So I wonder if you are pursuing any of those hobbies, and if anything is feeling like you're loving it so much. Remember, one of them was if you are so excited that you forget to eat, or you lost track of time, you know, then that's where you know, like, that spirit and passion and everything is taking over. So when we acknowledge our romantic impulses, no matter how implausible or impractical, you strengthen the intimate connection with your authentic self. Yeah. Yeah. And then I like how Sarah comes up with these things like, we were pioneers, right? We were goddesses. We've been a lot of different things, and now she wants us to become ravishing renegades. So even more than an uncommon woman, a renegade, right? So in this one is where she wants us, it's this one and the next one, she wants us to commit. She says a day, but I don't know if you could do the entire day, but to commit a day, and maybe it's a part of the day, to pursuing a passion. I think right now for me, it's like, I don't know what that is, so I just have to really get back to what brings me joy, right? And maybe that will evolve into something like a new project that I want to work on. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. What must you do before you die, she asks. Where must you go? What worlds must you conquer? Perhaps they only exist in your imagination, but the ability to transverse time has never stopped a clever woman with a romantic temperament before, and it certainly won't now. One day a week, she tells us she's gonna start working. I guess she wants to write a screenplay again, right? It's lived too long tucked away in my heart, she says. And you'll begin a secret project for your new, fabulous, splendid life. What do you think that could be? Like, can you think of, do you want to maybe go back to school to learn something new, to change careers? Do you want to write a book like Sarah? Do you want to write music? Do you want to create something? Do you want to learn like a new art or a new healing modality or something like that? What is it that excites you? So that's what she's talking about. And then today's entry, passion and the plate. So it's not about eating, but she does like to bring in the food to a lot of things. And she asks us, what have you been craving? I guess you've been craving it for a while now. It might be ceramics, or you might long to throw pots. And she goes on to give us a lot of examples of things that you might be wanting to do. All right, here's the pledge. There's no one on the face of this earth about to tell me what I can and cannot do, or that my passionate dreams aren't practical. That takes a lot of courage. We talked about courage recently. You might want to read that again and then take the pledge, Sarah says. By the time they put together our increasing good mood, vitality, optimism, then, okay, she's referencing something earlier in the entry that I didn't read. But she's telling us that when we start pursuing these things, then we're going to obviously have a better mood, vitality, optimism. Yeah. When we acknowledge our romantic impulses, no matter how implausible or improbable, the soul craft of divine restoration kicks in. It's imperative for us to discover or reconnect with what we cherish and love unconditionally. This is why we were created by divine love. In turn, divine love cherishes and loves us unconditionally. If you do not jump out of bed every morning grateful to the point of glee that you have another day on earth, then these words are specifically being written for you. And then she goes on to tell us, if we did this for a year, in a year's time, when you do have a smile on your face before opening your eyes and a thank you on your lips as you go to sleep, my work on these pages will be complete. Everything you've ever loved is part of a riddle of your incandescent memory, inevitable style and good, and the life you should be living now, the life that's been waiting in the wings. It whispers the next line in the one-woman show of your dreams. Go for it. I feel like I would be way more motivated by these entries if I really did feel like I have some sort of suppressed longing within me. I think I'm just gonna have to keep listening to the voice of my soul and see what comes. Right now I'm just sort of like still in the excavation process. So I'm not ready to devote hours to something because I don't know what it is yet. What about you guys? Do you have something that you really want to do and that you feel like, I do agree with her that if you really committed to doing an hour a week even on something, and you probably would end up wanting to do more. We talked about the artist's way, right? I think that was last month. And in that book, you are working on your creative projects, and that's part of it. And you know that once, it's just like momentum. Once you get started on something, it would be like 1 hour would turn into 4, and then you'd do the whole day. So that's probably why she says to devote a day. I don't know that everybody has a day to do that though, but start with what you can do, and maybe you're like me, where you're just still trying to figure out what it is you even want to do. We had that entry, right? I would do I could do anything if I knew what it was that I wanted to do. So I'm still there. And actually in that entry we talked about how you can be your own worst enemy by having all the excuses in the world for why you're not going to do the thing that you probably do know what you want to do. I am genuinely telling you right now that I don't know what I want to do. Like, there isn't anything right now that I feel bubbling up, or that I feel like I've always wanted to do this, or I've always wanted to go to this place. But that's just because I'm finding myself again. So maybe you're right there with me. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. That's a wrap up of some of the entries that I hadn't talked about in Sarah's newer version of the book. We're almost at the end of September. I can't even believe where this month went. I still feel like I'm in August. Like, I don't even think I even realized that we're almost through the month. And I hope that maybe you are thinking about getting out under the moon. We've got the full moon coming up on the 1st of October and also the 31st of October. That's pretty cool, right? 2 in the same month. So I hope you're doing that and maybe eating some apples or something seasonal like that, getting your house decorated for fall, and savoring whatever you can to make the season more joyful. Thanks for being here along with me as we learn all these new things in this new way of living. All you uncommon women out there. I hope you've had a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next video.